Okay, so Shemitah is our belief that we are not in control. I mean, when a person works 6 years, and on the 7th year he doesn't work, he's making a statement. Just like 6 days, and the 7th day is Shabbat, you're making a statement, Hashem created the world. So on Shemitah, you're making a statement that everything we earn, our parnasah, comes from Shemayim. Once a person realizes that everything comes from Shemayim, he has a natural hakarat hatov to Hashem. He has a love of God. And that's the basis of a relationship. A relationship means I'm no longer in control. I share my control with someone else. That's a relationship. And once a person realizes that Hashem is in control, then he realizes that he has needs and wants. So he has to tell Hashem what he needs and what he wants. How do you tell Hashem what you need and what you want? You're davening. So by keeping Shemitah, you relinquish control. By relinquishing control, you put control in the hands of Hashem. By putting control in the hands of Hashem, you now realize that to get something, I have to ask Hashem. To ask Hashem, I have to daven. Now you start davening. And the davening leads to more devotion to Hashem. And then when Hashem gives you what you want, you say thank you, which is modim. And that's why there's something called modim de Rabbanan, because when in the Shemona Esrei, when the Chazan says modim, he's thanking, but nobody can be a shaliach to thank Hashem for you. You have to do your own thanking. They say that Rabbi Yosha was having a serious surgery. He had heart surgery. And I think the doctor was an American doctor. So he wanted to say to the doctor, thank you. But the doctor didn't speak Hebrew. So he spent time learning how to say thank you in English, thank you very much. He spent time to learn it. So people says, what's the problem? Just say it in Hebrew and someone will translate. He says, no. When it comes to saying thank you, you have to do it yourself.
And on the language.
You can't, right? In any language, you cannot send it with somebody else. You have to say thank you yourself. Okay? We always talk about this, that Moda Ani is the one thing you can say in the morning before you wash the Tilat Shadayim. You can say Moda Ani. So that's how important it is. So Shemitah, it's an amazing thing, gives us an opportunity to admit God runs the world. It's problematic because what is the punishment for not observing Shemitah? What is the onish? What does, if you don't keep Shemitah, what happens?
You lose your feelings.
Well, it's not kodet, not you lose your feeling. Well, it's almost you lose your feeling. Yeah, Hashem puts you into galut.
That's what happened in Beit HaMikdash.
That's what happened in
Beit
HaMikdash.
become a slave.
They had to leave between the first and second Beit HaMikdash for 70 years to cover 70 Shmitot they didn't keep. Now, if you think about 70 Shmitot they didn't keep, and Shemitah is every 7 years, so how many years did they keep Shemitah? 490. Wow. The first Beit HaMikdash only stood 410 years. So it means that even during the days of David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, they already were not keeping Shemitah the way you would expect. Now that's amazing. What? They knew the halachot, but they couldn't let go. It's very hard. It's very hard if you have $5 in the bank, right? Someone's phone. Okay? My phone has a different sound. It's very hard if you have $5 in the bank, not to plow your field, and not to plant your field, and not to harvest your field, and not to sell your produce. That means, how many of you think you could, every 7 years, take off a year and go back to yeshiva and kollel?
Very hard.
And still pay your tuitions, and pay your mortgage, and pay your food. It's an extremely difficult thing. Yes. It requires a tremendous amount of emunah and bitachon. And I guess, and even in the first Beit HaMikdash, where they were very, very religious and very righteous, and they were very high level, I imagine there were some who kept Shemitah, but there were still some who cheated, who didn't keep Shemitah. And the cost, the price of that is galut. Okay? And just like Shabbos represents the day of rest for the week, Shemitah represents the day of rest
Of the year.
for the year. Now, they bring down so many stories. For example, there's a famous story, Rabbi Ephraim brings it down, of Shimetah in 1958, 1959. Already the state of Israel existed. The state of Israel already was around for 10 years, so they started to put back the Shimetah laws. When it came need for food, vegetables, produce, fruits, they were able to import a lot from America, from Europe, and that was the way they got by. One of the things they could not get were onions. There was a major shortage of onions. And all the newspapers were reporting, bless you, how to cook things without onions. I personally am very happy. I don't really care for onions, but a lot of people like onions very much.
They used to say this.
The story goes that there was a Egyptian freighter who made a wrong turn and ended up in the port of Haifa. And when the Israelis boarded the boat to seize the cargo, the whole boat was full of onions. So here, a week earlier, the newspapers reported there was no onions to be found, shortage of onions. And a week later, there was onions for the whole year. It's a famous story that they bring down. He brings down, Rabbi Friends, a famous story that for some reason they could not obtain onions. Lo and behold, an Egyptian freighter captain made a mistake. He made a wrong turn, and the ship wound up in Israel. And when the crew saw what was happening, they boarded the lifeboats, they abandoned ship. Now they had this Egyptian ship with everybody off, floating right off the coast of Israel. When they boarded it, what did they find? The ship was full of onions. As a result, those who observed Shemitah had onions in 5719.
The year?
That was the year. That was 1958, 1959. Okay? So Rabbi Fran tries to bring down that it will work out. How it works out, we don't know. But it works out. I mean, my wife and I often talk about the fact that we listen to our children and other people who pay tuition for school, for yeshiva. And we ask ourselves, how do they do it? I mean, we can't imagine how they do it. Then my wife says, but we did it. True. How did we do it? We can't figure that one out either. So, the answer is, somehow we got paid.
Okay.
Somehow you paid your tuition and you had enough money for food, you had enough money for rent and everything else.
Yes.
That's like Shemitah. That means when a person says, show me a modern day Shemitah test, the fact is many of us have a lot of expenses and can't figure out how we make it, but we do make it. That's a modern day Shemitah test. So, it's amazing what's able to be done. Rav Palm once brought down, he was speaking to a bunch of, yeshiva boys. And he asked them, what kind of a girl would you like to marry? So many of them said to him, you know what we would like? We would like a very rich shidduch. What is a shidduch?
Wife.
A wife, a maid. We like a wife that's very rich. Okay. So Rav Palm says there are two types of rich wives, rich families. There's one family who is actually very rich with money. I just want to tell you that when a girl grows up in a family that has a lot of money, she has certain expectations.
Yes.
So when you marry her, she wants to have a married life the same way she had at home.
Yes.
She wants to be able to buy what she wants, eat where she wants, go where she wants. She doesn't want restrictions. That's one type of rich shidduch. There's another type, a girl who grows up in a home with not a lot of money, but she's happy with everything she has. She has the same dress for 2 years, she never complains. She doesn't go out to restaurants, doesn't bother her at all. So she's very rich because she's a someach bechelko. She never complains.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, you have 2 pennies, she's happy. That's also a rich shidduch.
Yes.
Then he said to the boys, which kind of a girl would you like to marry?
Second.
A girl who grew up rich and therefore will always want you to make $1 million, and if you don't make $1 million, you're the biggest loser? Or do you want to marry a girl who, no matter what, she finds a way to make the money last, and she's always happy. When you come home, she always has a smile on her face. What?
Second one.
Second one is
Second one. So that's what he says. They say that he once asked the stipler. It says that if you're a sandak at a bris, you're supposed to get a bracha. You're supposed to be rich. The stipler is a sandak almost every day at a bris. He must have been a sandak 1,000 times. So they said to him, "Are you rich? You must be very, very rich." He says, "I'm very, very rich." He lived in a small little house. How could you be very, very rich? He says, "Because there's everything that I have. I'm very happy. My children are happy. My wife is happy. I'm happy. There's nothing that I want that I don't have. Whatever I need, I have. I'm happy. So I am rich. There are people who are sick. There are people who are evicted. None of these things happen to me. I'm very, very happy with what I do." So, there's different ideas of what it means to be rich. And sometimes we think rich is just about money, but it's not just about money. It actually involves an attitude. And, you want to marry someone with the right attitude. Now, how you find out if that person has the right attitude or not, that's the harder challenge.
Very difficult to find out second one.
It's much more difficult, harder than people realize.
Yes.
I read an article. I do a lot of counseling. I read an article. It was a very interesting article. It was in the Jewish press this week, where there was a couple that when they got married, they were so excited. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy. They really didn't do a lot of dating. They were religious. So there's certain, hormones that kick in, and there's a certain amount of excitement. But that passes. In marriage, that passes. And as you fall into love, people think they fall out of love. And then they begin looking other ways and other places. And they find this person and that person, and they get involved, and they make mistakes, and trust is eroded. The article says that we call that in English a midlife crisis, which is what happens. But if you don't give up and you stick it out, then you realize the person you married originally was really the best person for you and the best mother for your children. So when you lose that desire to have an emotional high every day, you'll settle back with your first wife. So it's like a roller coaster. The idea is make it to the end. In the roller coaster, you get scared. You don't get up and go and get off. That's not a good idea until you don't get out of the roller coaster. That's what life is. So you have to know what it is. But, you have to know how to ask the right questions, and you have to be able to see the signs. There are many, many people who think they could do it better the second time around, and they do a lot worse the second time around. And so it begs the question, how come they didn't learn from their mistakes? They thought they did it, but they didn't, because they don't always have a good judge of character. It's very hard to know what's right and what's wrong. Let's go a little bit further. We talk about all the laws of Shimetah, and in Israel, Shimetah today is only midrabanan, because there is no Yovel. So we do counting as best we know how, and we believe that everything will be the way it should be. It goes a little bit further in the Parsha, Perek Chov Zayin. Actually, that's in Bechuqotai. It talks about a person brings an animal for korban to Hashem. Let's work it out this way. There are many different prices for cows. A good, healthy cow costs $500. But there are cheaper cows that are not so healthy, a little thin, maybe a little bit rickety, maybe a little bit old. So a person wants to bring a korban to Hashem, and he doesn't have a lot of money, and he picks a cow worth $100. And he says, this cow should be a korban olah, korban shlamim, korban chatas to Hashem. Okay, very good. It's not a beautiful cow. It's one of the lower quality cows. Okay. Life is good to him, and a big business deal comes through, and now he has money. So now he sees that cow that he donated to bring to Hashem, And he says, that's ridiculous. That's a horrible looking animal. I'm going to sell that to the butcher, and I'm going to bring a different cow, a better cow. Is he allowed to do that? The answer is no. The Torah says, Lo yachlifenu. You cannot make a change. V'lo yomir also, and don't trade him in. Tov bara or rabba tov. You can't take a good cow and replace it with a bad cow. That's called a downgrade. That makes sense. But you can't even do an upgrade. That means you come to the Beis HaMikdash and you say to the Kohen, I wanted to give this cow, it's worth $100, but now I want to give a brand new cow worth $500. In most worlds, in most circles, when you're bringing a better quality, the answer is yes, of course. You're allowed to upgrade. When you go to the cell phone store, you don't say, I have an iPhone 7, I want an iPhone 3. Usually you want something higher, not lower. Right? So what's the reason that you cannot upgrade? I understand why you can't lower the value. Why can't you upgrade? What would you say the logic is?
It's already holy.
Okay, so let's say it's already holy. But I'm going to transfer the holiness. I'm going to take the Kedusha that's on it, and I'm going to put it on this cow that's a much nicer cow. I'm not destroying the Kedusha, I'm transferring.
You already said, this is for this, like, these all for this korban's for this. That's it, you already said it.
Right, and therefore what?
And therefore that's for that.
And you can't transfer?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because it's for that.
Why not?
But
So there was-
I know the allowed to bring the best one to Beit HaMikdash.
The person know how.
You're supposed to bring the best one.
Wrong with,
You're supposed to bring the best one, but if you didn't, if you brought something, if you made something worth $100, the gift, that's the gift. You can't change it. So the question is why? So there's a Rabbi Mintz, and Rabbi Mintz says as follows, very interesting answer that he gives. He says, what does Hashem appreciate when you made the gift of the $100 cow?
Your heart.
Your heart.
Your heart. He appreciated the gift. It's not the value of the gift. He doesn't appreciate the gift that you gave $100 and you gave $500. He doesn't say your gift is nicer than his gift. It's not about who gave the nicer gift.
From the heart.
It's about the heart, right? You gave a gift. It's the gift that counts. And if you could go ahead and upgrade and change it, what's the message you're saying? That it's not the gift, it's the money.
Yes.
Wrong message. That's the wrong message.
but maybe I bring for $100, but I change because I realized my mistake.
No, but you can't. What you can do is you can bring a second cow for $500. You can bring 2 cows.
No. Now you're gonna give me 600.
But I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. It tells me that you're married and your wife has broken you in. Because he recognizes what? His mistake. Most men never recognize their mistake. For you to say you recognize your mistake, that's impressive. Say that again. I just want to hear it one more time. Don't you have a tape here?
I should.
It's enough one time, huh? It's enough one
Enough.
time.
Decide what to say.
I recognize my mistake. That's a shock. So, but you understand, Hashem says, I appreciate that. But you know what I appreciate? The gift. You know, it's not, when a person buys you a birthday card, or let's say a Father's Day card, or Mother's Day card, so you get the card and you read it. If you turn the card over afterwards, because you want to see how much it costs, right? That's not the best thing to do. It doesn't make a difference how much it costs.
Gift is gift.
It costs $1, $2, $3, makes no difference.
I got
That's
it.
it. That's not what that doesn't make a difference. It's the thought that counts. It's the gift, right? It's the gift. That's what we're supposed to teach our children, and we teach our each other. That's what we're supposed to teach. And that's the lesson the Torah says. Now, Rabbi Wine says something interesting. He says, when the Torah gave the mitzvah of Shimetah, it did it in Har Sinai. When you stood at Har Sinai and you looked all around you, what did you see?
Desert.
Desert.
Nothing.
Nothing. Sand.
Empty.
You saw emptiness. You saw nothing there. The Sinai Desert is one of the most barren and inhospitable geographic areas on the globe. So when the Torah says to you to observe Shemitah, and people looked and says, you mean for 1 year my fields are going to look like this? It was a big shock to them. You know, it brought home the message even further. He brings down Rabbi Wein. He says there was a fellow who in World War II, before the Nazis had come, he was able to buy a small apartment in Israel, Jerusalem, thinking he could make it out to Jerusalem. He never made it out. He ended up at the concentration camps. So when he was in the concentration camps, what kept him alive was thinking, oh, I have an apartment in Jerusalem. One day I'm going to make my apartment in Jerusalem. He says sometimes having an imaginary scene in your mind creates optimism. And when you're optimistic, so you're able to get on. He says that's what Shemitah wants to do. He wants to make you optimistic that there is a future, there is a God, He will take care of you, everything will be under control. And therefore, don't be so afraid. Don't be so afraid not to observe the Shemitah. These are things that they want you to understand and they want you to accept. Okay, let's continue a little bit further. When it talks about Bechuqotai, now in Parshas Bechuqotai, we are exposed to the tochacha, the blessings and the curse. Okay? 98 curses are in Kitova. Here is only 49.
49.
Okay, a little bit difference. So it says over here, a lot of different curses, blessings. But asata shalom ba'aretz, there'll be peace in the land. Ushchavtem ve'ein machrid, you'll go to sleep at night, you won't be afraid. I'll get rid of the wild animals. And it talks about a lot of different things. So for example, it says in Pasuk Vov, V'yishbati chaya ro min ha'oretz, v'cherev lo savro ba'artzachem. So it's interesting that Rav Naftali Amsterdam, there was a famous rabbi, Rav Naftali Amsterdam, he says as follows. Bless you. During the Shemitah year, who do you feed first, yourself or your animals? He says yourself. Even though the halacha says who you're supposed to feed first? Your animals. So he answers very interesting. He says, when you own the food belongs to you, you feed the animals first. But if you are a guest in someone's house, and they give you a plate of food, and you first take the food and say, my dog's outside, I'm going to go feed my dog, I'll come back.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
So during Shemitah, who does the food belong to? It belongs to Hashem, right? So Hashem is feeding you.
Yeah.
So Hashem is feeding you, you eat first. Then if there's left over, you give it to your animals. So he says it's very interesting that normally the halacha is you feed your animals first, and then you're allowed to eat. But when the food is a gift to you, therefore you have to feed yourself first, and then only then you will feed the animals. So I found that to be very, very fascinating. Let's go a little bit further. There's a pasuk in the Tochacha that is very, very interesting. The Ramban brings this down. Perek Vav, pasuk Lamed Beis. I'm going to read you the pasuk, and you tell me what this pasuk means to you. It talks about, I'll go one pasuk before. V'nasati es orachem chorbo, I will destroy your lands. V'ashimosi es migdashchem, I will destroy, lay desolate your Beis Hamikdash. V'lo ariach b'reach nichochachem, and I won't smell the sweet smelling korbanot that you brought. V'hashimosi ani es ha'oretz, I'll make the land desolate. The land won't grow. I'll destroy the land. It'll be barren. V'shavu aleo oivechem, and your enemies that are living in the land will also not be able to grow anything. Hayoshvim bo, while they live in the land. He says, I'm going to make the land in such bad shape, it's going to literally be rock, thorns, thistles, nothing will grow.
If you don't.
And then, if you don't keep the Shemitah, you don't keep the Torah. And then, when the Goyim come and throw you out and take you into Galut, and they settle the land,
They can even.
the land is going to be just as horrible and as desolate and uncompromising. How do you understand that? What does that mean to you?
Like in England, when it was the colony in Israel, they didn't grow nothing in there.
So the Ramban says that in this pasuk is the biggest bracha you can find. He says why? He says when the Jews came back, let's say after World War II, the Jews came to Palestine and they wanted the English to leave. The English left. You know why the English left? Because the English said to the Jews pretty much as follows: you want this land? This is a horrible land. You can't grow anything. This is a rock. You want it? Here are the keys. Good luck. Try your best. And of course the Jews came in and also they grew trees and kibbutzim and farming and everything else. Rabbi Fran brings out, he says, think about it. Most of the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, what do they all have?
Barren land.
No, but what do they have?
So, sand.
They all have bare land sand, but what's underneath the sand?
Oil.
Oil!
They have money, a lot of money.
Money! Billions and billions of dollars. Comes Israel, no oil.
Nothing.
He says, why? He says, just think about it. Imagine Israel had as much oil as Saudi Arabia underneath the ground. You think the English would have left? You think
No.
anybody would have left?
No.
No. They would have stayed for the oil. It's fascinating. He says, Hashem says,
They left,
England left,
Yeah, left.
yeah.
Before the
not left.
they left their mark, but they left.
they fight.
They fought a little bit, but they left. He says that if you think about it, Israel as a country has nothing anybody wants. It has a wall, it has some rocks, it has some graves, but nothing the non-Jewish world wants. The Arabs want it for whatever reasons they have. Comes the Jews, and now you drive around Israel and you have beautiful green grass and fruits and vegetables and vineyards. You know, it became an Eretz Zavas Chalav V'Dvash. How did that happen?
Meaning,
The Ottoman Turks couldn't do it, and everybody that occupied Israel in the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s was always a poor, poor country. Look at Africa. Just a little bit below Israel. Look at Egypt. Look at Sudan. Look at Ethiopia. What do they have? Nothing. Look at Uganda. Nothing. These are countries that nothing grows. Take Gush Katif. The Jews were in Gaza, Gush Katif. They built shuls, they built hydroponics. They had greenhouses full of vegetables and fruits. They gave it all to the Arabs. What's the first thing the Arabs did? What are the first things they did? They destroyed it all.
Yeah.
We don't want Jewish stuff, so they destroyed it all. So now, they're 10 years later, go look at what's there. Nothing.
Desert.
Hydroponics? No. Food? No. Things growing? No. I mean, they could have taken the Jewish technology and did it and continued it. No, we're going to do it ourselves. So they destroyed everything. They blew everything up. What did they put in place of it? Nothing. Rock,
Maybe the tunnel.
rubble,
That's it.
tunnels they dig, yeah. They're very good at digging tunnels, that's true.
Like
You
a
know,
rat.
right, that's correct. They're very good at digging tunnels. So Rabbi Fran is very interesting how he says how these things happen, without anything out of it. Okay, another few minutes, maybe we'll end up early tonight, we'll see. It says, Lo sonu ishas amiso, a person has to be very careful how they talk. They cannot abuse someone. V'yeresa me'elokecho. Mikan, Rashi says, Hisir al onas devorim. It's so important how we speak. We have to avoid sarcasm, things of that nature. As a matter of fact, the Sefer HaChinuch writes, if you're careful how you speak, you will have tremendous bracha in your life and everything will be successful. So it's fascinating. that from a halacha point of view, the way a person talks, that determines the bracha in the house. So important as it is. It says, "Lo tikach mi'ito neshach v'taritz." You can't take interest. If a Jew lends money to another Jew, you're not allowed to charge interest. Okay? There's something called the heter iska, which makes like a business relationship. They bring down a famous story of Rabbi that a person used to charge all Jews with interest. And when he died, and they were going to bury him in the cemetery, the grave should have cost $50. They charged him $5,000. So the family complained, "Why are you charging? It's cost $50 a grave. Why are you charging us $5,000? I'm going to take you to the rabbi." So they go to the rabbi, and Rabbi Kiva Eger listens to the. He says, "Why are you charging so much?" He says, "Listen, when we sell a grave to a Jew, we know he's not going to be there that long. Mashiach's going to come, and he's going to get up. So we're only renting it to him for a few years. But a person who lends money with ribit doesn't get up by Mashiach's coming. So therefore, this is a permanent sale. He's going to be there forever. He's going to be there forever. It's $5,000. You know, if you're going to be there for a few years, it's like renting it for a few years. You know, so it's cheap. You know, it's $50. But if we think you're going to be there for the rest of your life, that's a problem." Okay. It says, listen to this. Famous story. Alexander the Great, when he once came to Jerusalem, came during the Shimetah year. And he saw all the fields were empty. So he asked, "What's going on?" So they taught him, they explained to him the laws of Shimetah. So he says, "Everybody who keeps Shimetah, I will exempt you from paying taxes. If you are following God's commandments, you don't have to pay taxes to me." And Alexander the Great forgave them for the taxes. Then it brings down a Gemara that says, if a person keeps Shimetah, Hashem forgives the sins bein Adam l'chaveiro. On Yom Kippur, what sins does Hashem forgive? Bein Adam l'makom, between you and God. But if I did do something wrong, nothing forgives unless I go over and say, what are those words again?
I made a mistake.
I made a mistake, right? Just check it to see if you remember those words. You did very well the first time. You were well trained. So if you keep Shimetah, though, Hashem says, I will forgive you for all the sins against your friends, your relatives. Okay. Wow. Listen to this. A question, then I want to go to something else. I'm going to speak about Shavuos night, but you're not going to be there Shavuos night, so you won't be able to hear it. But I'm going to speak about it. I'll share with you a little bit of an insight. I'm going to say Shavuos night. Listen to this. 2 boys have bar mitzvahs. In a class, when they turn in 7th grade, 8th grade, it's very common they have bar mitzvahs. So 2 boys have bar mitzvah the same Shabbos. The next day they come to school on Sunday, so they say, how was your birthday? What kind of gifts did you get? He says, I got a bunch of doubles. I got 2 sets of chumashim, 2 mikros gedolos chumashim. He says, really? I didn't get even 1, but I got 2 Mishnah Breweras. So he says, why don't we make a trade? I'll give you a set of chumashim, you give me a set of Mishnah Brura. This way we'll both have 1 set of chumash, because they were exactly the same. I got 2 exact sets, and I got 2 exact sets. They made the change. Then the boy goes to the bookstore and he's looking around and he sees that the Chumash cost $100 and the Mishnah Brura only costs $60. So he goes back to his friend and says, it wasn't a fair change. I gave you a set of books worth $100. You gave me a set of books only worth $60. You owe me $40. The other kid says, well, we weren't looking at the price. We were just exchanging gifts. You got extra gifts, I got extra. Gift to gift, that's the same. Yeah. It's called the barter system. I give you tomatoes and you give me oranges. We don't look at the price of tomatoes or oranges. I gave you 3 tomatoes, you gave me 3 oranges. That's not called ona'ah. That's not called violating the laws of commerce. What's the halacha? So they go ask a shaila, and the answer is, does he owe him the $40?
No.
No. When I sell you something and I overcharge you, I have to make up the difference. But if I am doing an exchange, gift to gift, then it's a gift, it's an exchange. The exchange is fair because we agreed to it. There's nothing I can do more about it.
Different value.
Even if the gifts are different value. If I agree to the gift exchange, so it's an exchange. When it comes to exchange, it's not a sale. In a sale, I can't overcharge you. In an exchange, we're exchanging. I didn't violate anything in the exchange. Okay. Last week we had a story in the end of Parshas Emor. It was about a man who cursed Hashem. Okay? Yeah. What was the story? He didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to die today, and he go ahead and curse Hashem. He didn't wake up one day and drive his car into Times Square and kill a bunch of people either. Somehow he went crazy. What happened? What happened? So the story goes as follows. The Jewish people are at Har Sinai, and they're getting ready to go to Israel. Now, in the end, they didn't go for 40 more years, but they were planning to go to Israel. When we go into Israel, what are we all going to get? What am I going to get? What are you going to get? What are you going to get? Land. We're going to get land. That means the land is going to be divided up. So, for example, if there's 100 acres, and in our group there's 100 people, each person is going to get 1 acre. If in our group there's only 99 people, I would get 1 acre and a little bit more, right? I'm going to get more land.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to get. Okay. So they start, making a list of everybody and every family and everything like that. And this guy comes up and says, I want to put my name on the list. And he says, hold on. To get on the list, what's your father's name? Tell me your father's name. He says, my father wasn't Jewish. My father was Egyptian. His father was the Egyptian who Moshe had killed because he had a relationship with his mother, Shlomit Bat Ivri. So they said, hold on. If your father was not from our Shevet Dan, then you don't belong here. We're dividing up the land of Israel. You don't belong here. Only children whose father is from Shevet Dan. So the guy says, what are you talking about? My mother is Jewish. And that's all that counts. And they said, you're right. Your mother is Jewish. That makes you Jewish. But we're not dividing the land by the mothers. Because a mother can go ahead and marry someone from Shevet Reuven. So where is she going to get her land from? Which Shevet?
Reuven.
Reuven! Your mother is here today, tomorrow she can marry somebody else. We're not doing that. That's not the game we're playing. He says, but I don't have a father, so I go after my mother. He's not totally wrong. If a father is not Jewish and the mother is a Levi, is the son a Levi?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He might be. And I did a get this week where the father was not Jewish, and guess whose name we used? His name was Menachem. We wrote Menachem ben Ludmila. We put the mother's name in the get.
Ludmila?
Yeah. Because the father was a Jewish. Actually, it wasn't. Her name was Anessa. But we put the mother's name in the get. He wanted us to use his grandfather's name, but we didn't use his grandfather's name because his father wasn't Jewish. So we used the mother's name. So we do go after the mother. And when the daughters of Tzlavchad, who had no husbands and no father, they wanted a piece of land. Did they get it?
No.
Yeah.
They get
Yes.
They get
Yes.
Sorry, that was on tape. Yes, they get it. Okay? So this guy said, I'm going to go to Bet Din. I'm going to go to Moshe. He knows the whole story. I'm going to Moshe Rabbeinu. He's going to set you guys straight. Okay? So he goes into the Bet Din of Moshe. They both make their arguments. And what happens? Moshe says,
I don't have husband.
does he stay or does he have to go? Moshe says he has to go. Now remember, he wasn't homeless. They had another area in the camp for all Gedim that they were going to be there. He just couldn't be in this camp. He couldn't be in Shevet Dan anymore. He wasn't going to be on the street. He wasn't going to be homeless.
But another side.
And the guy lost it. He was so angry that Moshe said he had to go that he went out and he cursed Hashem and cursed Hashem's name, and because of it, he got stoned and he was put to death. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says, how does a person lose it like that? Over a little dispute, over some property, over a piece of land, over a field. He wasn't going to be on the street. They were going to move him someplace else. Why did he lose it? What happened here? What is the reason why the person who lost a din Torah? There's an old saying. A person has the old days, a person had a chicken. And they didn't know the chicken was kosher or not. So they went to the rabbi, and the rabbi looked at the chicken, and the rabbi says the chicken is not kosher. What do most people do? What do the wives do, the mothers do? They threw the chicken out. It's not kosher. It's not kosher. They're not going to serve not kosher food. Next day, the same guy with the chicken has a dispute with his neighbor over $10. Comes to the rabbi. The rabbi says, I'm sorry, the money belongs to him, not to you. What kind of a rabbi? You start screaming at him. Yesterday, the chicken, which cost you $15, I told you was treif, you threw it out. Now we're talking only about $10. Why are you getting so angry? He says, yesterday, the winner was the chicken. I don't care. Today, the winner is him. I don't want him to win. It's not because I lost, it's because he won. People are jealous. People get angry. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says something very fascinating. He says, you know why this guy lost it? Because no one prepared him that when he went to court, he might lose. Listen to what I'm telling you. Everybody who comes to me, many people come to me for din Torahs. Every day I have people call me up, I have a court case. Can I run it by you? I said, no problem. Every person who runs it by me thinks they're 100% right. Husbands, wives, makes no difference. You listen to him, you would think he believes his case is in the angels. He's 100% right, not 95%. What I often say to him is, you know you might lose. He says, impossible. That's a slam dunk case. There's no way I can lose. I says, well, the courts work differently. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Can you prove this? Can you prove that? No, everybody knows. I know, everybody knows. Can you prove it? Do you have records? Do you have this? No. It's an amazing thing. I says, you could lose. Can't be. I said, well, why don't you come to court and we'll sit in the back and you'll hear the case and you'll tell me who you think's going to win. I've seen women lose their children in 5 minutes in courtroom. Who never thought they would lose their children. And the judge gets angry at them and thinks they're liars, and boom, children are out. I see people violate orders of protection and they end up in jail, and they're in jail for 48 hours. I didn't do anything. All I did was yell at her and push her. You violated the order of protection. Call her. I'm not calling her. Why not? That violates the order of protection. No one cares. People care. The judge will care. So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says, nobody took this person before he went to Bet Din and sat him down and said to him, I think you have a very good case, but it's possible you could lose. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for it? And if the answer was no, then don't go to court. Because the way you see the world, they don't see the world. The world doesn't see it the same way. And Reb Chaim Shmulevitz says that's why he lost. You know, we talk about there was Rabbi Hirsch Weinreb, who was the executive director of the OU. He once spoke about parenting. He says, what's the most important thing parents can teach their children? We have something today called helicopter parents. Do you know what a helicopter parent is? What's a helicopter parent? Do you know? It's a parent who hovers over you like a helicopter. If somebody screams at you and yells at you, they swoop down and they get angry at the person and they protect their children. They protect their children. He says, you know what? Those parents are crazy, he says. They're suicidal. Why? Because you can't protect your children their whole life. He says, if a child goes through normal life, they're going to get tickets, and they're going to have a car accident, and they're going to have a job, they're going to lose their job, and they're going to want to marry a girl, they're going to not get that girl. They're going to have losses. They're going to have disappointments. They're going to have challenges. They're going to slip and fall. They're going to bleed, and you're not going to be there to kiss the boo-boo away. He says, if you want to be a good parent, you teach your children coping skills. How to cope, how to survive. You know, we teach them called tenacity, resilience. You give your child, you give lessons and instructions, and you let them stand on their own 2 feet. You teach them how to problem solve. Because as they go through life, they're going to have problems. And you're not going to be the one who could always run in and fix the problems. You can't fix all the problems your children are going to have. They're going to have to cope. They're going to have to fix their problems. You have to teach them that some days you're ahead and some days you're not. Some days you win, some days you lose. It happens to everyone. You're not the first person to lose their job. You're not going to be the first person to get a parking ticket. It happens. And if you don't teach your children how to deal with these problems, they're going to be in serious trouble. He says the Mekalel, no one taught him that he could lose. Because his mother would always fix everything. Well, she couldn't fix this. And he lost it. And he cursed, and he got killed because of it. Okay? So, it's a fascinating, fascinating thing. You have to know that in life, there's going to be disappointments. In life, there's going to be confusion. In life, there are going to be losses. And you have to know how to deal with those feelings and get over it. You have to be mentally prepared. And it's a parent's job to prepare their child. So when a child comes home and says, my teacher hates me, and the parent says, no, I'll take care of this, and they pick up the phone and they call that teacher, they rip a sign off the teacher, better say to the kid, I'm sorry your teacher hates you. Go back to school tomorrow, work it out with your teacher. Figure it out. No, I want you to come to school, I want you to beat up my teacher. Well, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to go to school, I'm not going to beat up your teacher. Oh, at least call my teacher. No, I'm not going to call your teacher either. You're going to figure out what happened, and you're going to work it out. Now, if they can't, you can guide them, you can help them. But the parent that right away comes charging into the classroom, how dare you give my child attention, my little angel who can't do anything wrong, and who the teacher looks at and says, what are you talking about? The child is a spoiled brat because you're a parent who spoils them and haven't taught your child respect, and therefore, what are you doing? You're killing your own child. Chai Shmulovitz says, you have to prepare for the possibility you could be wrong and you could lose, even if you're right. There's a lot of injustice in the world. If you go to court, the statue of justice is blind. They have a mask over. A lot of injustice in the world. That's the way it is. Okay. Next, how important is it to speak English and to know English and understand questions and know answers? Very important. Let me give you an example. Okay? Simple example. There was this Russian guy, and he didn't speak very well English. And he was going to take a test to become a United States citizen. And he was scared because he was afraid he was going to fail the test and he was not going to become a citizen. So he went to his friend and he said, you just took the test. You got to help me study. He says, I'll do better than that. When the judge asks you questions, he's going to ask you 4 questions. I'm going to tell you the answers to those 4 questions. You memorize those answers and you'll pass with flying colors. Okay, good. What are the questions? I'm ready. The first question he's going to ask you is, who was the best president in the United States? So, you know what? Give a simple answer. Abraham Lincoln. Who's a good president, right? Honest Abe, good Civil War. He won't be able to disagree with you. Okay. He's going to ask you the next question. How many stars was on the flag in 1776 when the United States became a country?
13.
13! Remember, 13. Okay, I got it. Abraham Lincoln, 13, got it. The next question he's going to ask you is, how many stars on the flag today? What's the answer? 50. 50, okay, got it, 50. Now, to become a U.S. citizen, he's going to see, he's going to ask you, do you have both your parents alive? Because he wants to know, are you alone or not? So when he asks you, do you have both your parents? You have your parents, you say both. Okay, both. So he's there the week before he studied. Abraham Lincoln, 13, 50, both, got it. Comes before the judge. The judge says to him, sir, what's your name? Abraham Lincoln.
Oh,
Okay, Abraham Lincoln. How old are you? 13. 13. He says, to live in the United States, you have to make money. how many dollars do you make a month? 50! $50. So the judge says to him, who's crazy here, you or me? Both! He didn't become a citizen. Now you know why it's important to understand English and know the questions. Have a very good night.
Are you turning off now?
Okay, now you know why. Yeah, it's a joke. Why you have to know the questions.